And we're back to some more Seattle Kraken franchise mode, and in this one, we have the offseason of year number 9 heading into year number 10. Gotta be honest, I having a hard time believing it myself, but that is indeed where we are at this point of the GM mode. So we do have quite a few players to sign going into the offseason. Forsmark, Goyev, Nurmi, Tepley. I don't think we're going to be able to sign all of them, considering our cap situation, as we're aware with, guys like Matthews and Odinger having new contracts now, Dubé, Fantilli, all those guys on extensions, and I don't think we're going to have enough for all of them. I have a feeling Tepley is out of here, because, 4.7 for 3 years. What did he do last year? Only 6 points? Yeah, no, thank you. I mean, he might be good defensively, but that's not worth it. That is not worth nearly $5 million. I think Sapovliv's going to be on his way out here as well. Yeah, he wants 3.5 compared to what he's making right now, which is basically the minimum. Yeah, like I said, there's going to be some cuts this year. No doubt about it. No way around it. But that being said, I will sign Goyev. He had 43 points last year, 50 the year before. So I'll be very surprised if, he only wants 2.365 for 2 years. I will definitely do that for him. In fact, I'll try to take him down a little bit more. All right, so he's not willing to negotiate. He's asking for way below his market value already, so I suppose that's fine. We'll just give that to him. As for Nurmi, he's currently making almost 2.5, so I wouldn't be surprised if he's asking for somewhere around $5 million. Yeah, 4.25. But he did have 58 points last year, 32 goals, so I would say he's worth it, but I want to wait and see what our situation is, because we do have quite a few offensive players on this team. If we miss out on Nurmi, it's not the worst thing in the world, but I would definitely prefer to get him signed. It's just that I'm not sure if that's going to happen with how much roster turnover we may have going into this offseason. As for Forsmark, he only wants 2.25, so he may not be the worst to bring back. But like I said, I think guys like Tepley and Sapovliv, they're not coming back. Between Nurmi and Forsmark, I think I would keep Nurmi just because it'll be easier to replace someone like Forsmark than it is for us to replace someone like Nurmi. Because there's other defensemen out there who have better mental ratings and better physical ratings even, and even better defensive ratings. But I'm not saying Forsmark's bad, but like I said, he's easily replaceable. As for Nurmi, let's see if we can get him down in his price at all. Okay, so I got him down to 3.97 for 3 years. I think that's pretty reasonable, especially considering he had nearly 60 points. So I'd say that's a bargain. So let's submit that to him. My only concern, of course, is if we're actually going to have enough money for all these contracts, which I'm not sure if we do. Oh, just barely in the red. Yeah, so I'm not sure if we're going to be able to sign really anybody else. Guys like Kuznetsov, Tepley, Sapovliv, they're almost definitely gone here. I think I will sign Kuznetsov, though, because he only wants 1.1. So he's cheaper than Forsmark. I have guys like Caffrey and Shorey set to auto-qualify, so we'll retain their rights. But these guys, Tepley, Sapovliv, Forsmark, they're all gone. And time for the awards. For the Ted Lindsay, Carl Davis of Chicago, the Art Ross, Kent Johnson of Chicago. So, once again, Chicago taking home quite a bit of hardware. Actually, that reminds me. Let's check into the Stanley Cup playoffs. And then, of course, the Stanley Cup champions are the Chicago Blackhawks. So setting a new record for the most regular season wins of all time, I believe, was 66. And, of course, they top it off with the Stanley Cup. So I don't think it gets much better than that. Maurice Richard goes to Pasta. The Lady Bing also goes to Kent Johnson. Then you have the Bill Masterton for Matthew Barzell. The Mark Messier Leadership Award goes to Nathan McKinnon. And the Jennings Trophy goes to Owen Millward, also of Chicago. And for the Hart, between Davis, Struble, and Johnson, you have Carl Davis of Chicago. And the Conn Smythe, Emil Israelson, also on Chicago, of course, because they won the Stanley Cup. And the Calder, between Stanislav Seleznev, Christian Aldegari, and Maxwell Cotton. And it goes to Maxwell Cotton of Florida. For the North, between Davis, Israelson, and Poirier, it goes to Carl Davis. Frank J. Selke between Cameron Van Sickle, Sampo Ranta, and Michael Stenberg. Come on, Van Sickle, Stenberg. So he is a runner-up once again, but unfortunately can't edge out Stenberg. Vesna between Paul Shannon, Hugo Alnefelt, and Yaroslav Askarov. It goes to Alnefelt of Calgary. For the Executive of the Year between Gorton, Nonis, and Treleving, it goes to Jeff Gorton. And for the Jack Adams between Sacco, Waite, and Davis Payne, come on, Payne, Doug Waite of Chicago, of course. So our total season score adds up to 28, which brings our total career score to 151. I'm going to divide all those points into the remaining GM ratings. Okay, so we're on July 1st now. We do have roughly $3 million in salary cap space. However, I don't want to spend it all in free agency, if any, because first of all, we do have a lot of prospects that still need to be signed, who we are on the process of signing right now. And then I also want to have some wiggle room going into the trade deadline this upcoming year. So I just get this feeling that we're not going to be doing much, if anything, in free agency this year once again. So before we go into the draft, let's take a look at our roster. You have Odinger and Larson in net, of course. And on defense, you have Kuznetsov, Brandstrom, Hughes, Golyev, Lauren, Samuelson, and Nemec. That is 7. And at forward, you have Nurmi, Amirov, Van Sickle, Zui, Perry, Matthews, Fantilli, Naring, Onishko, Hanak, Dubé, and Arvidsson. There are some extra forwards in the AHL that we can bring up if we need to, and we probably will. I think we're honestly pretty set here to move into the drafts. How many draft picks do we have? We have 1, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Okay, so basically only 1. The depth draft picks at this point are not really much. And if we're being honest, we're heading into year number 10. I don't know how much of an impact our first round pick at this point is going to have in this series, if any. So let's just make our way through the draft and then we'll advance to the start of year number 10. And let's have a look at the draft lottery. Picking at 16 is Calgary, 15, Montreal, 14, New Jersey. So Edmonton moves up into the top 3. Wow. 13, you have Arizona, 12, Vegas, 11, St. Louis, 10, Columbus, 9, Florida, 8, Ottawa, and at 7, Winnipeg, 6, Philly, 5, Colorado, 4, Buffalo, 3, Edmonton, and at number 1, the Boston Bruins. And here we go, time for the draft. I'm not sure where we're picking, but it's probably pretty late considering we were in the conference finals. So yes, indeed, we are picking at pick 30. Not much left on the board in the way of current ability, but there are some 2.5-star potentials here. So I think this guy, Stefan Fekiac, stands out the most to me. Got a defensive read of 17, nothing else too spectacular. His stats, 23 points this year in the Slovakian League in 37 games played, 64 grade. Like I said, nothing too good, but I guess at this point of the drafts, that's what you can really expect. He's pretty durable, so I don't think he'll be getting injured too much, or at least he shouldn't. And there's nothing that really stands out to him as a weakness. It's just he has to develop all around for the most part. But still, nonetheless, he will be our pick, as he is, I believe, the best player available at this point. So, Fekiac, welcome to the Seattle Kraken. And our next pick is in the 4th round, and there's not much here at this point, so I think we're just going to CPU finish draft. And for the Hockey Hall of Fame, you have Crosby, Ovechkin, Numanen, and Rask all being inducted this year. And we are now in the preseason. Here's our roster once again. You have Odinger and Larson in goal. And on defense, you have Kuznetsov, Brandstrom, Hughes, Golyev, Lauren, Samuelson, and Nemec. And at forward, Matthews, Dubé, Van Sickle, Fantilli, Naring, Onishko, Arvidsson, Amirov, Nurmi, Zui, Shori, Caffrey, Perry, and Hanak. We have the start of year number 10. That is right. We have come a long way in this GM mode. Of course, last season, we were outed in the 3rd round by the 66-win Chicago Blackhawks. And, I mean, we put up a fight for sure, but in the end, they were just a bit too much for us. But we are going to try again here, though, and see if we can somehow beat them this year. I mean, we did beat them 2 years ago on our route to the Stanley Cup, so it's certainly possible. I mean, obviously, I'm expecting Chicago to be good again this year, but I think we can, I think we have the tools to do it, so we may as well go through year number 10 here. But of course, first, we're going to have to go through the preseason. We're going to see how our team simulates there and see what cuts need to be made. We have 30 players currently on the roster. Now, I don't know how much longer we'll be going with this GM mode, but I do want to set the team up for success for now and for the future, regardless of how long we're going. So with that being said, I think we're going to go through preseason and we'll see how we do. All right, so the preseason is over, and now, of course, we have our cuts to make. We currently have 29 players on the roster, and Odinger with an 88 grade compared to a 55 for Larson. So let's see what their preseason stats are all about. Ooh, an 885 for Jimmy Larson in 1 game and a 955 for Odinger in 6 games. So hopefully coach actually plays him this year. and he lives up to what he did in preseason, because that is phenomenal for him. Now for defensemen, you have Luke Hughes with an 81 defensive grade, 61 offensive grade, and 71 overall. So he's looking good as usual. Then you got Brandstrom, Samuelsson, Nemec, Pribble, Kuznetsov, Lauren, and Goliev. I think just because of his inexperience, I'm going to cut Pribble, and that leaves us with 7 defensemen. So I think everyone else here is staying on the roster. Forwards, not impressed with Agapanov. And now that Singlar is over here in North America, I think he could use a year in the AHL. Because, I mean, he didn't do too bad. Honestly, his defensive grade was really good at a 60. Better than I thought it would be. But offensively, not where I want him to be. So I think we'll send him to the AHL for some seasoning. Ryan Green, he can go down to the AHL. I'm going to send down Evan Caffrey, I think. And I hate to say it, but I think it has to be Lubomir Koren going down to the AHL once again, as he did not have a good preseason. He's been developing okay down there in the AHL, it looks like, but unfortunately, he's not able to replicate the same grades that he's getting down there in the AHL here in the NHL. So, yeah, he is the last cut. And there we go. That is the roster for the start of year number 10. In goal, you have Odinger and Larson. On defense, you have Hughes, Brandstrom, Samuelsson, Kuznetsov, Nemec, Lauren, and Goliev. And at 40, you have Matthews, Fantilli, Zui, Stevenson, Naring, Dubé, Onishko, Van Sickle, Arvidsson, Nurmi, Amirov, Shori, Perry, and Hanak. So that being done, we are set to go into the regular season. I'll update you guys at the half point of the season, and then again at the trade deadline if we need to. And presuming that we don't make any moves at the trade deadline, then we're just going to get to the end of the regular season, because as we saw by last season, this is a team that's obviously pretty well prepared to make it into the playoffs. My only concern at this point is the playoffs themselves. So coach, if you could just help this team sail through the regular season, that would be much appreciated. Oh no, Cameron Van Sickle with another major injury on his career. He now has a sprained elbow for 1 to 2 months, so not nearly as bad as his previous injury, his previous major injury, but still, not good. As for a team update, we're currently 7-1 after 1 month, so it's not the worst thing in the world, but definitely not an ideal start, especially not in this division the way it is right now with LA having only 2 losses and then San Jose. I mean, it's just a competitive division right now, it looks like, so we're going to have a hard time climbing our way back up. So if we fall back this month as well, this upcoming month, it's going to be pretty hard to get ourselves into the playoffs this year, I think. And it looks like Chicago's actually, they're struggling to start out as well. Only 6-7-3, and they already have 10 losses on the season in total, so it doesn't look like they'll be getting 66 wins this year. As for the roster side of things, there are a few players who could be doing much better for sure. Larson has a 907 currently, and Odinger has a 903. So in goal, could be better. Our offense from the back end isn't bad, but we've seen better from them before. As far as offense from the forward group, you have Matthews with 19 points, 17 for Dubé, Onishko with 11 in 12 games, then you have 10 for Amirov, so it looks like we're scoring still. Let's check out the team stats here. Goals for per game, we are currently at 18th, really. It seemed like we were scoring, but I guess compared to the rest of the league, not so much. And as for goals against per game, we are currently sitting 19th with a 3.33, so we could be doing much better for sure. I know something needs to change here, I'm just not entirely sure what yet. Because it seems like the entire roster is just underperforming right now. Well, besides Matthews and Dubé, and then Onishko, they're all doing all right. Amirov's doing well as well, but everyone else, I feel like they could be doing better. Brandstrom, we've seen better point production rates out of him before. I mean, obviously, I'm not saying that 9 points in 15 games for a defenseman is bad, but I'm just feeling a bit underwhelmed right now is all I'm saying. So, and I would obviously like to see more out of Odinger as well. You know, we know he's capable of some... he hasn't posted anything spectacular over the years, but he's been consistent at the very least, and he hasn't been anything worse than a 906 in any 1 year, so I certainly expect better out of Odinger. So hopefully he can get it together here in the coming month. I think we're just going to simulate another month and see what happens because, like I said, I'm not entirely sure if there's any one thing that's going wrong right now. I think it's just a combination of everyone just underperforming. So we're going to simulate another month and hope for the best. All right, so we are on December 1st now, and we are currently 18-10-2. We are playing much better now than we did in the first month. I don't know whether that was just the rust from the offseason that we had in that first month there in October. But we seem to be, regardless, we seem to be simulating much better now. So the main thing that I want to check right now is the stats of Odinger. Okay, good. He's up to a 911 now. He was at a 903 previously, so he is definitely playing much better. As for Larson, an 892. And you know, as of right now, Odinger, he's on track for a pretty good season. So I'm not going to interrupt things for him. And like I said, the team's doing well as well. So I really have no reason to interrupt things right now at all. So we're just going to simulate through to January 1st and see where that takes us. Okay, so I honestly don't know what to make of this team right now, because in November, we won a good chunk of our games. I mean, I count 1, 2, 3, 4 losses total there in November. And in December, we won our first 2 games, but then you have, what is that? A 7 or 8 game losing streak. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, 8 game losing streak in December, followed up by 2 wins and a loss. So December was pretty ugly. That being said, we're still not in a terrible situation. I mean, it could be better for sure. We're in 5th right now, but we're not out of range yet. I mean, we're obviously not going to be the best team in the league this year. Looks like that's going to either be LA or the Devils, but my point is, I don't think we need to make any major changes, although I do think we do need to make a couple of changes at this point, given that, you know, we didn't have much success in October, and then there in December, that was a pretty ugly stretch. So I think what we're going to do, we're going to send Keegan Stevenson down to the AHL. He has not been impressive, to say the least, so we're going to put him on waivers and just see what happens there. If he gets claimed, whatever. And who we are going to be calling up, I think we're going to give Lubomir Koren a chance. He's been really good in the AHL this year. In 42 games played, he has 56 points. So if he's going to make the NHL roster, I think now's his chance. So we're going to send him to Seattle Kraken and see what he can do. And he's 24 as well, right? So it's not like he's going to be really doing that much more growing. So I figure at this point, he basically is what he is. And if he simulates well defensively, or even offensively if he wants to, then he should have a solid place on our roster. But if not, then, you know, I think it is time to move on from him if he can't prove himself here. And let's get a look at Odinger now. He's got a .910 save percentage in 34 games, so I'm not concerned about him, honestly. He's been pretty solid this season so far. Although Jimmy Larson has not been favorable this year, only on 913 games played. So maybe we bring up Jared Woods from the AHL. He's been doing really well down there this year. He has got a .928 save percentage in 34 games, 25 wins. Actually, you know what I just realized? I can send Jimmy Larson to the AHL without him passing through waivers. So I think I'm going to do that. I'm going to try sending Larson down in exchange for Jared Woods. I want to see what he can do as the backup for us. He has the 2.5-star ability just like Jimmy Larson does. So, I mean, I don't see why he wouldn't at least be able to be serviceable at the NHL level at this point. And hopefully those couple of changes will work out for us, because, you know, we're coming up close to the trade deadline here, and I don't want to have to make any significant moves if I don't have to. But I will if I have to. So we're going to go up to February 1st, and it'll be a deciding month regarding what we do at the trade deadline. So let's hope for a good January here. All right, so we're roughly a week before the trade deadline here. We are 33, 20, and 8. We're not even that bad. It's just the rest of our division is pretty tough, honestly, this year. You have LA, Anaheim, Vancouver. They're all doing really well. Not to mention Edmonton's right behind us. Vegas could still catch us if they go on a run. So, it's pretty competitive here in the Pacific Division. Let's check out the team stats. You have, for goals for per game, we're 6th in the league now with a 3.39, and goals against per game, we're sitting in the middle of the pack with a 3.07. So like I said, it's not like we're even that bad right now. It's just that the rest of our division is just competitive. That's all there really is to it. Let's see, goalie stats. Woods with a 924 in 5 games, so he's doing much better than Jimmy Larson right now. And then I believe I saw, 910 for Odinger. So he's been doing just fine. Defensively, you have Hughes with 37 points, 36 for Brandstrom. Golyev with 24, 20 for Nemec, 17 for Lauren, 14 for Samuelson, and 6 for Kuznetsov. So we've had better defensive cores in the past as far as the amount of offense it's able to produce. but it's still pretty good. Two guys who are on track for 50 points, so I'm not complaining. As for our forward group, you have Matthews with 69 points in 61 games played, 57 for Dubé. You have 41 for Amirov, 40 for Nurmi, 38 for Onishko, 37 for Arvidsson, 29 for Van Sickle, 28 for Naring, 27 for Van Tilly, 25 for Zui. You have 13 for Shori, 9 for Perry, 6 for Hanak, and 2 for Korin in 12 games. So do I think we make a change going into the trade deadline? Well, a look at February here. It's sort of a back and forth. You have a loss, a win, a loss, a win, a loss, a win, a win, and then a loss. So it's basically been even there in February. But in January, we were pretty solid. You had 2 wins there at the end of the month, and a loss, a win, a win, a win, a loss, a win, a loss, a win. So we won more in January than we lost. And then, of course, December was pretty ugly, but I don't know. So I guess, if anything, I would want some better defensive forwards for the bottom 6, but that's been seemingly the reoccurring problem of this GM mode throughout the entire thing, is that we haven't been able to find too many good defensive forwards for the bottom 6. And the ones that we did have, we were forced to let off the team because they were asking for too much money. So, Sapovliv's still a free agent, so maybe if we offered him, no, he's still looking for 3.75. Yeah, that figures. Yeah, it makes sense why we're not as good of a team this year as we were last year, considering the amount of defensive forwards that we had to release off the squad, in Teply and in Sapovliv. Not to mention we had to let go of Forsmark last year as well. All those subtractions, when you consider them, and how impactful they are to the team, they didn't seem like much, but Teply and Forsmark and Sapovliv, even, all 3 of those guys were pretty solid defensively, so that was definitely not a good hit to our defensive depth. But just given our league position right now, I think we can go ahead past the trade deadline without making any moves, because I have almost no doubt in my mind that we'll make the playoffs, considering the Central Division. They're very weak over there. They don't really have much going on, it looks like, as far as the wild card goes, because right now the top 3 includes Colorado, who only have 66 points. We have 74, so we have a pretty wide gap over the Central Division as far as vying for the wild card, but the question is, will we be okay for the playoffs once we're actually in? Okay, here's what I'll do. I'll go through the trade block of every team. I'll see what forwards are available, because that's what I'm looking for right now, is mainly forwards. I think our defensive core is fine. And if I find any solid defensive forwards, I'll definitely make an effort to go after them, presuming they're, they have a decent salary. But if I can't find that, then we're just going to go ahead after the trade deadline and simulate into the playoffs, because in general, I feel like this is a pretty good roster. It's just missing that defensive expert. So if we could find that here on the trade block, that'd be great. So I did find Alexander Legkov, but he would be way... Not only is his contract too expensive, but he would also be too much to trade for, I think. So I'm going to have to say no to that. Yeah, I could find absolutely... But other than that Legkov guy, who is, like I said, too expensive, I could find absolutely nothing that I was interested in. So we're just going to advance ahead past the trade deadline and into the playoffs, and hopefully we get it together in the playoffs defensively, because, like I said, I don't really see much of a change here that I could make. At least not one that would make that much of a difference, So we're just going to go with this roster ahead into the playoffs and see what happens. And we have finished the regular season 50, 24, and 8, good enough for 3rd in the division. So certainly not complaining there. We managed to get 50 wins. Let's take a look at the team stats now. Goals for per game, we were 4th in the league with a 3.55, and goals against per game, we were 9th in the league with a 2.84, so we definitely got much better as the season went on, and I guess that's what we can expect from a veteran team at this point. And in goal, you have Odinger with a 915 save percentage and Woods with a 910, so definitely a pretty solid goaltending tandem this year. Odinger was as good as he's ever been with that 915. The only other better save percentages he's had were a 918 and then a 916 during the start of the GM mode. So I certainly cannot complain from Jake Odinger. He did exactly what we expected him to do. As for defensemen, you have Brandstrom and Hughes with 50 points each, 40 points for Golyev, 39 for Nemec, 22 for Lauren, 16 for Samuelson, and 9 for Kuznetsov. Not complaining from the back end. Pretty solid numbers all around. And as far as forwards, you have 101 points from Matthews, 44 goals from Dubé. So yet another 40-goal season for Braden Dubé. That is 4 years in a row. 56 points from Mamirov, 52 for Onishko, 50 for Arvidsson, 49 for Nurmi, 46 for Van Sickle, 41 for Fantilli, 37 for Naring, 29 for Zui, and you have 16 for Shori, 10 for Perry, 6 for Hanak, and 5 for Koren. So there you go. We've made the playoffs for a 6th year in a row, and our first opponent in these Year 10 playoffs will be the LA Kings in the first round. So I think we'll leave it off there. And let me know what you guys think. Remember to hit like and subscribe, and in the next one, we will go through the Year 10 playoffs. See you guys then.